So welcome to the stage, and let's check out what we have in the login quickly and see if we what we can do with it. So in the login, we want to actually be able to save the section that will be created. So I'm just going to take off all this. This was just for testing purpose for the last class. Now we understand how it works. Yeah, this was for testing purpose, and then we're taking that off. Then also, we're also going to take this off as well. This test 1, test 2, we don't need it anymore. So we'll take it off, then we'll go back to the main business. The main business was on the login. That was where we left off before we learned section. So let's go back to the login controller. So in the login controller, we've been able to log in. So let's assume we are logging in with the right password. And if you're logging in with the right password, for those of us that are just joining for the first time, maybe you're watching from there, you can watch from the previous video, and then that was where we actually started from. So from where the stuff was compared and it was successful. So we're just going to be showing that. So at this point, we said login is successful. This is the point where we actually want to create that section, want to apply that section, what we just learned now. So whatever data that we are getting from here, we want to actually save it in a section variable so it can be persistent to all the application and all the router as the case may be. And I also like to show you something on the database. And if I take you to the database here, and I think I'll just have to refresh this again. And let's see, I'll just refresh this database. So you can see a session store. That was what we actually created. So we called it a session store. And it has some documents. It has up to 12 documents, 12 of it. And that was as a result of all the testings that we've been doing. As you can see, this is the section, and this is the cookie. Is that okay? The maximum age, the date the cookie is going to expire, this data. So you can see all these data actually are available for all this cookie, right? So these are the cookies that are created here. Now we're not going to try to encrypt or do anything to it. We can also decide to encrypt it, but this is going to be on our database, and it's quite safe to do this. So it actually has its own ID. So all the cookies here, they all have their ID. So we can decide to clear all the cookies we have here and create another one, just the way it would have been done when you go to your browser and clear cookie. In this case now, we are actually doing it in the server because we have it on our database. So we can clear all the cookies, all the records that we have of the cookie, and such record will no longer exist. So we can do all that to as many as possible we want to do. Okay. So that's, by the way, of how this cookie actually works. So let's quickly go back and apply that now and see. So right in, when the person is logged in, instead of just saying login is successful, is that okay? We can decide to send a response to the front end so that the front end, front end developer can actually receive the result. So what we do here is to bring in that our section. So we say request the section. We want to set the section variable. Section variable. So we want to set that section variable. So setting the section variable, we're just going to say the requests. What am I doing? Okay, it's a mistake. So we're just going to say the requests dot section. Now dot the name we want. So we want to be going to call this a user, right? And we're going to set it to the data that we're actually getting from the front end here. Don't forget, when we query this database, we're going to be getting a data. Is that okay? And if you remember that when you put in the right email, you're going to query this database and you're storing this variable in data. So we're just going to be making use of this data, right? So this data is actually what we want to send to the front ender. So we're going to put that here and say data. Now this data is going to have the ID, everything that we saved in the database. So we're just going to test this for testing purpose. And instead of just saying that this is successful, we're just going to send this to the front end. And maybe we will just add this as an object. So let's just put it as an object. Let's put this as an object and say, let's assume we're sending the first one, which is this request.section. So this request.section, we are sending this, right? And we want to put that request.section in an object, and we'll just call it user, right? And that's what we want to do. And what else should we send again? Maybe we should send login is true. We should create a variable that says login is true. So we should also create a section that say the login is true. So we can actually, the end developer can actually use that to know if somebody is logging or not logging. So just the way we create this equal to this, we can also do for that. So this is just to hold the variable to make sure that someone is logging. So we'll say login, that's the name of the variable, and we'll just set it to true. So, and if it is not true, right? If it is not true, then it means the person is not logged in. So that's just like an indicator. So just the way we did for the order, login equal to true, this requires a section. We can also put in, a key for it. We will just say login. That's what we should call it, and we should pass this in. So if the login is true, it's going to say login is true. If the user exists, it's going to say, it's going to send this. Is that okay? So this only happens after the person has passed all the credentials, the password, and the email are quite the same. So what we're doing is that we are sending this to the front-end developer to have this, to use this, right? And we're also sending, just like an indicator to tell that this is actually logged in. The front-end developer can decide to come up with a way to show that it is logged in or not, but we're just trying to make life much more easier. So let's save that. And quickly, we'll go back to our database and just try to pick up one of the users that we have actually done before now. Okay, so I'm just going to be making use of one of the encrypted user. If I'm not mistaken, I think I had one of the encrypted user had forgotten. So let's just, all these ones that are not encrypted, we're just going to take them off. We don't need them anymore, right? So this was the encrypted one, and I'm just going to make use of this. So I'll pick up this image and I'll enter the password, and let's test that out quickly. So we'll go to the login. So it's called login, and it's a post request if I'm not making a mistake. It's a post request, and the body is going to be taking two parameters. It's going to take the email, right? And it's going to take the login details. So here we have it, and this is the password to that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can put a stronger password, but this is just for testing purpose. So let's try to log in and see. Okay, we are getting an error in our request. So let's check that out and see what the problem is. Okay, so we'll quickly go back and see why we are getting that error. Okay, I'll just move my terminal upward a little. Okay, I think I'm still getting that test of 18. Let me move down. Okay, right, I said test is not defined. I think that's the reason. So there's a route called test, and we never defined it. So let me go back and take that off. I thought I've taken everything off. Here is it. Okay, maybe I didn't save it because I've taken everything that has to do with tests. Test, taken off. And let's go to the user where we created the test and the rest of them. Let's check if that exists. No, it doesn't exist. So we're going to save that and try to run this again quickly. Okay, finger crossed. Let's try to run this again. So give this a shot. Wait for a moment. Here we go. Now we're getting the results. Everything seems to be working fine. Now you can see the key I created. Now the user is passed in here. This is the user ID, the full name, every details about the user is passed. Then the hash password is also sent. Now you can decide not to send this hash password because it's not the right thing to do. Then we also sent a login here, request the section login, to be true. So in this case, practically, we don't send this to the front end. Is that okay? We can decide to destructure this and not send it to the front end. We can destructure it. These things can be done in several ways, but I'm just going to be using a very simple way to quickly destructure that. And to destructure that, I'm getting that from data. The data I'm getting, which is request.section, this is the data. I'm getting it from this data, right, which was passed in from the onset. So I can decide to destructure it. So I can destructure this one. So let me just destructure it up here. I can say const. So the first one is underscore ID. I'm sending the ID, and I'm sending the full name as well. Full name, and the full name, then the email, and what else? What else do we have in here? I think, okay, full name, email, I think this is all the three stuff that we need. We're getting it from data. So we should be used to this now. And, we just destructure whatever that we have in this data. So let me be sure about the ID. The ID is underscore. So we just destructure everything from the data. So we can put all this and save it in a variable, a certain variable that we want, right? So we can just create that and override the data form itself. So you can use another variable if you wish to, right? If you wish to, you can choose to use another variable, but I just want to override what we have in there. So I'll just put in all this as the new object that I have. So I'll set this to this. So that's it. So no, without the password. So this is it. So that means we're sending this to the front end now. So it has been destructured. We explained it. Now, this can be done in several ways. You can actually do it from your database, your query. You select the row that you want to populate. But I'm going to be showing you that in some other videos on how to do that. You can decide to, from this find, and tell us the one you want to populate. You want this, and you don't want a certain feed. You can do it from here. But I always like doing it like this. And there are cases that we have to do it the other way around. But for now, let's stick with this because it's quite simple and then quite easy to understand. So what we're doing is that we just destructure the data. These are all the things we got from data, and we are now saving it here. And that is it in. So we are overriding the previous data, and now we are passing this data. So this data we're passing in here now is this. So the order has been overridden. So we're just going to save that and then give it a shot again. So let's try that, the moment of truth. So I think I'm getting an error. Okay, that's because it was yet to start. So moment of truth again. So here we go. As you can see, I'm getting the data. I'm getting the ID, and I got the email, and then the password wasn't there, is no longer there. But I think I actually missed out something, which is actually the full name. I think that was what I actually missed out. So I'm just going to be correcting that in the next class. I think it's FF name. I don't know what we actually call it in database. So let me quickly check the database and see what the name is. Okay, it's full name, capital letter N. So but I use a lowercase n, so that was why we aren't getting that. So we're trying to destructure something that never existed. So if we do that now, we should be able to get everything fine now. And I think it's because it's here to run. So let's quickly do this now. One more time. So the moment of truth. Okay, I think the full name is not defined. I think that's what I'm saying here. Okay. I didn't change it here as well. Full name. Oh, just making some silly mistakes. Okay, so let's just wait for it to come up and quickly test that out again. So you test it out. So you can see we are all getting this data. So this is what we're sending to the front end. So the front end, this is saved in request.section. It's already saved in the section. So you have this data saved in your section right now. And if you go to the session store, you find such record being saved into the session store. The cookie is stored, and this is the expiry date of the cookie, and so on and so forth. So this is all what you do here. So you do this in the database. Some people might say that this will be like overloading for the database, but I think it's actually better because it is safer. So do have a nice day and don't forget to join the next lesson. Thank you very much. Bye for now.